I was called many, many times to be a Christian. And I fought it as long as I could. And last week I was sitting at the table watching Cindy eat.
Oh, really? Did she do okay?
It was just one of the highlights of the week. And unfortunately it came on the last day of the week, so it really made it. And we were talking, and it made me think about the time, because we was talking about finances and what we're going to talk about a little bit today. And when I was a kid, when I was in the 5th grade, we moved to a new house. And so my sister, who's just 11 months younger than me, and I decided to find a new church. And there was one down by the new grade school that we hadn't attended yet, but we knew where the church was. And at that time in my life, I didn't know there were denominations. I just thought church was church. So I found this church, a nice little church, and we started going every Sunday. And they had this thing called Sunday school class. And I was in this class, and I was a very rambunctious little guy, and inquisitive too. So I always had questions for the teacher. And the teacher would so she couldn't answer some of the questions, so she'd send me to the pastor after church. And so I would grab the pastor and I'd ask him questions. And about the 3rd week of that, he says, "You need more help than I can give you. Maybe you shouldn't come back."
Wow.
That was the first time I was ever kicked out of church. Not the last, but the first. I had 2 more coming later in my life. But at that time, I made a decision. Because I kind of. How many of you have ever confused all the stuff about church with real life?
Sometimes it's very confusing.
Yeah, sometimes it's very confusing, especially as a kid. And trying to blend it together. And I knew that the main thing the minister did was talk a little bit and take the money. So once I got kicked out of church, I decided to start my own church because I might as well get the money. And I promise I'd tell Cindy the story. That's what I'm telling it to you right now. I decided to get the money, and so I started my own church in my neighborhood. And we built. There were building some houses in our neighborhood, and they sort of went stop for a while. I guess for some reason they just stopped building the houses, and they had all these bricks there for about 4 or 5 houses. And so my neighborhood kids and I, took those bricks and built this little courthouse, which was my church. And then every Sunday we would meet together, and they would bring me their money, and I would give them a little sermon. And then also, because I was so benevolent, during the week I would offer protection. Even though I was little, I loved to fight. And my dad was a fighter, so he always got me fighting. And so I was good at giving protection. So the kids in my church would bring money, I'd give protection. So I sort of combined several little things together. And it was wonderful. I loved being a preacher. Unfortunately for me, we only lived in that house for 2 years, so I lost my church. And by that time, I started in the junior high, and I found girls. So I gave up my religion. I got a new one.
Did you have a set amount that they had to give you? Or did they
no, I didn't have a set amount. I didn't know about the tithe at the time. Otherwise, I would have had tithes and offerings and good... And protection money, too. I would have added on some things. I didn't know about those things.
Isaiah 55:11. Do you know that one?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. 55:10 says, "As the rain comes down from the heaven, so shall my word be that goes forth from my mouth. And it shall accomplish that purpose for which I sent it." And you are speaking God's word. So be blessed with that.
Thank you. Anyway, I gave up church. And now, but the reason we're here today is different. We see some signs up here of the Great Recovery. A year and a half ago when we did this last time? About a year and a half ago, this church did financial peace. And my wife and I thought that we were pretty good with finances.